I never meant to hear it. Lying there with my eyes closed, pretending to be unconscious after the crash, I heard my assistant confess everything, how he'd been secretly in love with me for years, how he struggled raising his daughter alone, and how he thought I'd never notice someone like him. But I had noticed. I'd always noticed. I just never knew how to bridge the gap between CEO and assistant, until now. If you're enjoying this story, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more emotional stories that touch the heart. Your support means everything to us. The impact threw me forward, then back. Metal crunched. Glass shattered. The world spun in a kaleidoscope of blurred colors before everything went black. When awareness returned, I felt something warm trickling down my temple. Pain radiated through my body, but nothing seemed broken. I could hear voices outside the car, people shouting for help, the distant wail of sirens. I should have opened my eyes. I should have moved. But something kept me still, my eyelids heavy as stone. Ms. Reynolds. Eliza. Can you hear me? That voice. James. My assistant. The panic in his tone made my heart clench, but still, I didn't move. Some strange instinct kept me frozen, pretending unconsciousness. I felt his fingers on my wrist, checking for a pulse. His sigh of relief was audible. Thank God, he whispered. Help is coming, Eliza. Just hold on. The car door had been wrenched open somehow. I felt cool air rush in, replacing the acrid smell of deployed airbags and burnt rubber. James was half inside the vehicle now, his presence close and comforting. The paramedics are 2 minutes out, he said, his voice steadier now but still tight with worry. You're going to be okay. You have to be okay. His hand found mine, warm and solid. In 5 years of working together, we'd never touched like this, deliberately, intimately. It felt like crossing an invisible line. I don't know if you can hear me, James continued, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper. But I need you to fight. Lily needs you to fight. I need you. Lily. His 8-year-old daughter. The little girl who occasionally visited the office with her handmade drawings and gap-toothed smile. The child who'd lost her mother to cancer 3 years ago, leaving James to raise her alone. You know, Lily asked me last week if you could come to her school play. She's playing the sun in their solar system pageant. He laughed softly, the sound tinged with something that might have been embarrassment. I told her you were too busy. The truth is, I was too afraid to ask you. I wanted to open my eyes then, to tell him of course I would come. But curiosity kept me silent, listening. I've never told you this, but you saved us, Eliza. When Sarah died, when I was drowning in medical bills and grief, you didn't just give me flexible hours and understanding. You gave me purpose. A reason to get up every morning beyond just surviving for Lily's sake. His thumb moved across my knuckles in small, soothing circles. I could hear the tremor in his breathing. I know it's unprofessional. I know there are 1,000 reasons why I shouldn't feel this way about my boss. But every morning when you walk into the office with your coffee and that determined look on your face, ready to take on the world. God, Eliza, you're the strongest person I've ever known. The sirens were closer now. Soon the paramedics would arrive, and this strange, suspended moment would end. I've tried dating, you know. Lily keeps asking when I'm going to find her a new mom. His laugh was self-deprecating. But how do you tell your daughter you're in love with someone who sees you as nothing more than a competent assistant? Someone so far out of your league it's almost comical. In love. The words hit me like a second crash. James Parker, my quiet, efficient, unfailingly kind executive assistant, was in love with me. James, who remembered how I took my coffee and anticipated my needs before I voiced them. James, who never complained about late nights or early mornings. James, whose desk I passed every day with a smile and a greeting, never suspecting the depth of feeling behind his professional demeanor. And the truth I'd been avoiding for months, maybe years, was that I'd noticed him too. Not just as my assistant, but as a man. A father. Someone whose quiet strength and unwavering integrity had become the foundation I relied on daily. "The paramedics are here," he said suddenly, his voice shifting back to professional concern. "You're going to be fine, Ms. Reynolds. Everything's going to be fine." His hand slipped from mine as voices surrounded us, efficient and clinical. I felt myself being assessed, stabilized, transferred to a stretcher. Through it all, I kept my eyes closed, processing what I'd heard, what it meant. It wasn't until I was safely in the ambulance that I finally allowed myself to regain consciousness, blinking against the harsh lights, finding James's worried face hovering nearby. "You're awake," he said, relief washing over his features. "Thank God." "James," I whispered, my voice hoarse. "You're here." "Of course I'm here. The car behind you called it in. I came as soon as I heard." There was no trace of his earlier confession in his expression, just professional concern, perhaps tinged with the natural worry of one human for another. Had I imagined it all? Had the crash jumbled my thoughts, created a fantasy from nothing? "Ms. Reynolds, I'm paramedic Garcia," a woman said, leaning into my field of vision. "Can you tell me if you're experiencing any pain?" I answered her questions mechanically, all the while watching James from the corner of my eye. He sat quietly in the corner of the ambulance, his phone in his hand, presumably updating the office about my condition. Always efficient. Always thoughtful. Always there. The hospital kept me overnight for observation. Mild concussion, whiplash, bruised ribs, nothing life-threatening. By morning, I was arguing with doctors about being discharged, insisting I could recover just as well at home. "You shouldn't be alone with a concussion," Dr. Patel said firmly. "Is there someone who can stay with you for the next 24 to 48 hours? Before I could answer, there was a knock at the door. James stood there, Lily half hidden behind him, clutching a handmade card. "Sorry to interrupt," he said. "We just wanted to see how you're doing." "James," I said, suddenly self-conscious in my hospital gown, with no makeup and my hair a tangled mess. "And Lily. This is a surprise." Lily stepped forward, extending her card. "I made this for you, Ms. Reynolds. Dad said you got hurt in an accident." The card featured a crayon drawing of what appeared to be me, standing tall with a cape flowing behind me. "Get well soon, Superwoman," was written in careful, childish letters. "Superwoman?" I asked, smiling at her. "Dad says you're like a superhero at work. That you can do anything." I glanced at James, who looked mortified. "I might have exaggerated your abilities slightly," he admitted. Dr. Patel cleared her throat. "As I was saying, Ms. Reynolds needs someone to stay with her for observation." "I can arrange for a home health aide," I began, but James interrupted. "I can do it," he said, then immediately looked like he regretted speaking. "I mean, if that would be helpful. Lily and I have a spare room. Or I could stay at your place. Whatever's more comfortable for you." "James, that's not necessary. It's just that all your family is on the East Coast, and I know most of your friends are work colleagues who are currently in Singapore for the merger talks, and," he stopped himself. "I'm overstepping. I apologize." Dr. Patel looked between us. "Well, someone needs to check on you regularly for the next 48 hours. I'll let you two figure it out while I process your discharge papers." She left, closing the door behind her. Lily had wandered to the window, giving us a moment of semi-privacy. "James," I said quietly. "You don't have to do this." "I know." His eyes met mine, steady and sincere. "I want to help. That's all." Was it all? Or was this the man who had held my hand in the wreckage, who had confessed feelings I still wasn't sure I hadn't hallucinated. "Lily's school play," I said suddenly. "When is it?" He blinked, surprised. "Next Thursday." "How did you?" "I'd like to come. If the invitation still stands." The smile that spread across his face was like sunrise. "She'd love that." "We both would." I ended up at James's apartment, a modest two-bedroom in a family-friendly neighborhood far from my luxury high-rise downtown. It was cozy, lived in, filled with Lily's artwork and framed photos of their little family, including several of a beautiful woman I recognized as Sarah, James's late wife. "It's not much," he said apologetically as he showed me to the guest room. "But the bed is comfortable." "It's perfect," I said, meaning it. After the sterile modernity of my own apartment, there was something deeply comforting about a home that was clearly loved. Lily appointed herself my personal nurse, bringing me water and asking every 30 minutes if my head still hurt. By evening, James had to gently suggest she give me some space. "But Dad, you said we have to keep her awake because of her concussion." "That's only for the first few hours, sweetheart. Ms. Reynolds needs rest now." "Eliza," I corrected. "Please, both of you. Call me Eliza." After Lily went to bed, James and I sat in his small living room, the television playing softly in the background. I'd borrowed a t-shirt and sweatpants from him, the fabric soft and smelling faintly of his laundry detergent. My designer clothes from the accident had been ruined. "Thank you," I said into the comfortable silence. "For all of this." He shrugged. "It's nothing." "It's not nothing, James." I turned to face him fully. "In the 5 years you've worked for me, have I ever properly thanked you? For everything you do?" He looked uncomfortable. "It's my job." "No. Your job is to manage my calendar and correspondence. Your job isn't to remember that I prefer peonies to roses, or that I can't stand the smell of vanilla, or that my mother's birthday is the hardest day of my year because she's gone and I still miss her." He stared at me, something like alarm in his eyes. "How did you know I was the one who sends the peonies on your mother's birthday?" "Because no one else knows what that day means to me." I took a deep breath. "James, in the car, after the accident. I heard you." The color drained from his face. "You were conscious?" "In and out," I lied, not wanting him to know I'd been deliberately deceiving him. "I heard some things." He stood abruptly, moving to the window, his back to me. "Eliza, I apologize for any inappropriate." "Don't." I rose too, wincing at the pain in my ribs. "Don't apologize for being honest. It was unprofessional. I never intended." "James." I moved to stand behind him, close enough to feel the tension radiating from his body. "Look at me. Please." Slowly, he turned. In the soft lamplight, I could see the fear in his eyes, fear of rejection, of humiliation, of losing his job and the stability it provided for his daughter. "I've spent 10 years building Reynolds Tech from nothing," I said quietly. 10 years of 80-hour weeks and sacrificing any semblance of a personal life. Do you know what I was thinking about when the car hit me? When I thought I might die? He shook his head. I was thinking about quarterly projections. About the Singapore merger. And then, in that split second before impact, I thought, is this really all there is? I took his hand, feeling the slight tremor in his fingers. And then I woke up, and you were there. You're always there, James. The one constant in my life for 5 years. And I realized I've been blind to what's been right in front of me. Eliza, he whispered, his voice rough with emotion. What are you saying? I'm saying I'd like to go to Lily's school play. And maybe after that, dinner? Just the two of us? The hope that dawned on his face was beautiful to behold. Are you asking me on a date, Ms. Reynolds? I smiled. I believe I am, Mr. Parker. Is that going to be a problem? His answering smile was like coming home to a place I hadn't known I was missing. Only if you keep calling me Mr. Parker. The next morning, I woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of childish laughter. For a moment, I was disoriented, the unfamiliar surroundings confusing my concussed brain. Then it all came flooding back, the accident, James's confession, our conversation last night. I found them in the kitchen, Lily standing on a stool at the counter, helping her father make pancakes. They were both still in pajamas, James's hair adorably mussed from sleep. "Good morning," I said from the doorway. They turned in unison, matching smiles lighting their faces. "Eliza!" Lily exclaimed. "Dad's making his special Sunday pancakes, even though it's not Sunday, because he said you needed cheering up." "Did he now?" I raised an eyebrow at James, who had the grace to look embarrassed. "They're just pancakes," he muttered, but the pleased flush on his cheeks told a different story. "Can I help?" I asked, moving into the kitchen. Lily looked skeptical. "Dad says you probably don't cook much." "Lily," James admonished, but I laughed. "Your dad is right. I'm a disaster in the kitchen. But I'm a quick learner." "You can stir," Lily decided, handing me the bowl with exaggerated care, as if entrusting me with a precious artifact. As I stirred the batter, watching James and Lily move around each other with the easy choreography of a long-established routine, I felt something unfamiliar settle in my chest. Contentment, perhaps. Or possibility. For 10 years, I defined myself by my company, by the empire I'd built from nothing. I'd told myself the loneliness was a necessary sacrifice, that relationships were distractions I couldn't afford. But standing in this warm kitchen on a Tuesday morning, wearing borrowed clothes and helping make pancakes with a man who had seen me at my most driven and still somehow loved me, and a little girl who looked at me like I might be worth knowing beyond my title, I wondered if I'd had it backward all along. Success wasn't measured in market share or profit margins. It was measured in moments like these. In connections. In the courage to be vulnerable. "Penny for your thoughts?" James asked, coming to stand beside me. "I was just thinking," I said, smiling up at him, "that sometimes the best things in life come after a crash." 6 months later, I sat in an elementary school auditorium, watching Lily shine, literally, in her role as the sun. James's hand was warm in mine, our fingers intertwined in a way that still gave me butterflies despite the months we'd been together. The transition hadn't been seamless. There were HR complications, raised eyebrows, and whispers about favoritism. James had ultimately transferred to a different department to avoid any conflict of interest, though I missed his efficient presence outside my office every day. There had been adjustments on the personal front too. I'd had to learn how to be part of a family, how to make room in my life for school plays and movie nights and helping with homework. James had had to learn that dating a CEO meant understanding when work emergencies took precedence, and that sometimes my driven nature was both a blessing and a curse. But we were figuring it out, day by day. The night before, he'd left a small velvet box on my pillow while I was in the shower. Inside was a key to his apartment and a note that read simply, "Time to make it official?" I hadn't given him my answer yet. Not because I was uncertain, but because I wanted the moment to be special. As the elementary school solar system took its final bow, Lily's face searched the crowd until she found us. The joy that lit her features when she spotted me next to her father was worth every complication, every adjustment, every moment of doubt. Later, as we waited in the school hallway for Lily to change out of her costume, I turned to James. "Yes," I said simply. He looked confused. "Yes, what?" I pulled the key from my pocket.